Well, hope you're having a great week. It is it Wednesday? I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday, December 28th. See, Sunday was the 25th, 26th, 27th, 20th. Yeah, it's Wednesday. Wednesday the 28th, December 28th, 2:35 p.m. Central Standard Time, which I think is local time here in Williston, North Dakota. When I was driving on I-94, I passed a sign that said that I entered Mountain Time Zone. And then I passed another sign after that said I went back into Central Time Zone when I was headed north. So I think there's some weird time zone boundaries in North Dakota. I'm going to put the phone in the holder. You can sit there and stare at the snow. So what's going on with me? This is going to be a short little update video. It's hard for me to do a driving video because I broke my phone holder. And it's hard to get it adjusted properly, and it bounces like crazy. So it'd probably give you motion sickness if I try to do a driving video. And that's most likely not going to get fixed until I get back home and replace my mount for my phone. So what all's been going on with me? Well, I'm pulling my sleeper blinds right now because the sun coming in from the left is just really bright. Well, there's been a tremendous amount of drama on this trip. An absolutely crazy amount of drama. Of course, I made the video talking about the accident. Some idiot knocked out my front headlight and caused some damage to my front end. It was really minor damage. If I would not have been awake and I just happened to be about to start the truck up. I was in the process of sitting down in the chair whenever the moron hit me. What he was doing was there were two open spots to my left, and this jackass was cutting through the parking lot trying to get to the fuel island. Well, the fuel island was almost right in front of me. So after he cut through those two spots to the left, then he had to cut real hard to the right so that he could swing out and do a U-turn to come back into the fuel island. He wouldn't have had to done that had he just followed the fucking road. But honestly, I hope the dumbass goes out of business. Like, he tried to do a hit and run. After I honked my horn and he hit me, he backed up to try to get out from around me so that he could take off, and I started honking at him and I ran out of my truck to get him to stop. But the fucking idiot was gonna hit and run, I guarantee it. And then once he got out of his truck, he started whining about his insurance and how he is up for a renewal. That was all he was freaked out about. Like, eventually he started apologizing like crazy, but the first words out of his mouth was him talking about how scared he was about his insurance. Well, I hope this stupid motherfucker's insurance goes up so high that it puts his dumb ass out of business. Because he's a worthless piece of shit that doesn't know how to drive, fucked up my truck, tried to do a hit and run, just doing stupid shit. Weaving through the parking lot, driving way too fast through the parking lot. He's the type of dumbass that you see at the truck stops that's driving way too fast, weaving through parking spots to cut across the parking lot, just being a dumbass. So I have no sympathy for him at all. None. I hope he fucking goes out of business. It pisses me off because he fucked up my day. He fucked up my week. Oh man. All right. I need to stop ranting and raving about it. So I got into that accident where that moron, and I'm still dealing with his insurance company, Progressive, over it, and they are a pain in the ass to deal with. And they said that they're going to get me an offer today or tomorrow, but I have had to spend way too much time on this bullshit, and I have a bad feeling that they're going to give me a lowball offer, because they started telling me about the way that they do offers. They basically call around and try to find the cheapest fucking shit they can. And I'm like, that ain't gonna fly. I said, you're going to replace it with an OEM quality headlight. You're not going to replace it with a $100 fucking headlight. I said, I replaced it with a $100 headlight because I needed to get the truck moving again. I was out of business without a headlight. They wanted a copy of the receipt that I used for replacing the headlight. They wanted to use that to come up with how much they were going to give me. And I told them, fuck no. I said, no, I'm not giving you a copy of the invoice that I used to fix the headlight. I did the cheapest possible temporary fix that I could so that I could get the truck rolling again, and you're not going to use that to come up with your offer. The OEM headlight costs over $1,000. I'm not going to let you sit here and give me an offer for a $100 fucking headlight. But anyway, I'm still dealing with those jackasses. And it wasn't just the headlight that he knocked out. It caused compression fractures in the hood. The hood is incredibly expensive to replace the whole hood. It's fiberglass. It's not something that you can really repair. Cosmetically you can repair it, but the compression fractures, you can't fix that shit really in fiberglass. But there's compression fractures, there's little chips, there's scratches. The hood mirror has some scratches on it and some rub marks that basically rubbed pieces of the hood mirror off. It's really, 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 really minor damage on the hood mirror. Just tiny little scratches and scrapes and stuff like that, and chips in it. The main damage is the headlight completely needed to be replaced. An OEM headlight's $1,000 plus labor. And then the hood is incredibly expensive to replace. The hood damage isn't too minor, but it can't be completely fixed, I don't think, without replacing the whole damn hood. It crushed in the hood a little bit, it bent it in, and just caused compression fractures. But anyway, dealt with that shit. Then I went and picked up the load, and then I went to the dealer and got the headlight replaced. And then I drove to, I got fuel in Oklahoma City. Then I stopped just south of Wichita, Kansas at a rest area. And that's where I ended my first drive shift. And while I was sleeping, the APU stopped working. So I turned on the bunk heater, and the bunk heater ran fine for about an hour, and then it stopped working, and I woke up freezing cold again. So it was 40 degrees. Wait, was it 40? I think it was 40 degrees inside the truck the first time that I woke up when the APU stopped working. And then it was 38 degrees in the truck the second time I woke up, and the bunk heater had stopped working. And I thought that the reason the bunk heater stopped working was because the fuel lines froze, and that ended up being true. That was what was wrong with the bunk heater, because it was like -5, -10 degrees around Wichita at that time. So I had to start the main engine and idle it while I finished sleeping. And then I woke up, started driving. I ended up driving to Beresford, South Dakota, just south of Sioux Falls. I planned on driving to Sioux Falls, but the road conditions were just too bad, so I stopped about 35 miles short in Beresford, South Dakota. The road was closed in Sioux Falls, so I stopped for two reasons in Beresford. Number one, I didn't think I'd be able to find a place to park in Sioux Falls, because that's where the road was closed. And number two, was because road conditions just kept deteriorating. It was blowing snow. It wasn't, I don't think it was actually snowing. The wind was just blowing so hard that it was picking up snow that was already on the ground and blowing it around, and it was just whiteout conditions. It was like a blizzard, and it was off and on. Like, you'd have crystal clear, no blowing snow at all, and you could see forever. And then 500 feet later, you'd start running into some blowing snow, visibility would go down, and then it would go down to absolutely nothing. You couldn't see more than like 10 or 15 feet in front of the truck, and then it would go back to you being able to see 500 feet, and it was just back and forth like that. It wasn't like a constant whiteout, but it kept getting worse and worse and worse the closer I got to Sioux Falls. So I stopped there in Beresford, and because the APU and the bunk heater, neither one were working, I had to run the truck all night long. And because of how cold it was, my fuel efficiency had dropped a lot. I was getting like 3 miles per gallon when I was driving, and whenever it was idling, I was getting it was burning like 1.2 gallons per hour, which is basically double what it normally uses. So for anybody who doesn't know, diesel 2 has the same freezing temperature as water, but it takes a lot longer to freeze than water. So if it gets below 32 degrees, diesel 2 will start crystallizing. It'll start getting murky, like cloudy, and it starts becoming less efficient. So you'll start burning more fuel. Your fuel efficiency will go to shit. And the colder it gets, the less fuel efficient it gets. And it was like negative 15. I think the coldest temperature I was in was negative 27, and that's not wind chill. The wind chill was much, much colder than that. So my fuel efficiency just tanked. I was getting no fuel efficiency at all. I used an extra tank and a half of fuel, which is how much money is that? Well, it would take me a while to calculate it, because one of the tanks of fuel that I put in the truck was diesel 1, and that was $2 a gallon more expensive than diesel 2. But anyway, yeah, it was a very, very expensive drive up here because of the fuel cost. I used a ton of extra fuel. My initial fuel cost on the trip should have been $1,200, and I ended up spending closer to $2,500 in fuel, maybe a little bit more than that. So the load paid a total to me gross of $5,000, and I spent over $2,500 in just fuel. So, like, after all my expenses and everything, I am going to make less than $2,000 on this load, which is really terrible. I could have stayed down in Texas and made more money on shorter runs. I still have... The bunk heater is working fine now, since I've gotten diesel 1 in the tank and the fuel lines are no longer frozen. But the APU issue still exists. I have done an incredible amount of troubleshooting on the APU. I've probably spent 8 hours working on the APU. Tightening belts, checking fuses, replacing connections and capacitors, checking connections, doing all kinds of stuff. The only thing that I have left to check, the last thing I thought of, is that maybe the place where they spliced in the wire might be damaged. Because the issue I was having before I took the truck into the shop and had them replace the wire to the generator was that the wire from the generator to the capacitor kept getting charred. Like, it would become brittle and just fall apart. The wiring was bad, so I paid the mechanic to replace that wiring, but he told me that he couldn't replace the wire all the way to the generator because it was wired straight into the gen head or something like that. So he couldn't completely replace the wire. So he just cut out the bad section of wire and spliced in new wire. And Just a second here. This truck's trying to back into a spot. This car's going to try to whip in behind them before they do it. No, it looked like they were backing into that spot. Looks like they're flipping around to park at the end of the row here. So I replaced the wire at the tip. I replaced I clipped off the end of the wire and replaced the connectors where it actually plugs into the capacitor, but I did not check the wire at the splice point, and if the wire might be bad at the splice point. My issue with the APU is that the generator is not working. I'm getting under voltage errors, and it's just not working. So I've checked the voltage at the control unit, and it's putting out 130 volts. I don't know exactly what the capacitor does. I think the capacitor helps with the voltage and amperage, so it's putting out adequate power, but the power is not like in the proper range or something like that, which I think is most likely a capacitor issue. And I've replaced the capacitor 3 times. I thought maybe I might have like a bad capacitor, a new one that was bad, so I went ahead and replaced it another couple of times. But now the only thing I have left to check is the wire at the splice point. If that is not it, then it's beyond me. Either the control unit is most likely going to have to be replaced, or the generator might have to be replaced. So I don't know. I'm really hoping it's the wires, the splice point. I am not looking forward to getting back out there and messing with it again, because it's going to be, you know, the temperatures are really nice. You know, there's a lot of snow on the ground and everything right now, but the temperatures, like Friday and Saturday here, it was like negative 27 degrees. Now it's above freezing. It's like 35 degrees outside, approximately, somewhere in that area. So it's actually kind of warm outside. A lot of people think 35, 40 degrees is cold, but I will walk around in shorts and a t-shirt in 40 degree weather. I can't stand outside for long periods of time in shorts and a t-shirt, but just walking from the truck to the building, I'll just wear shorts and a t-shirt in 40 degree weather. I might throw on a small jacket if the wind is blowing, but the temperature is nice. The reason I'm not looking forward to getting back down there and messing with it is because of the snow. I would just get soaking wet down there in the snow. I do have some rain gear that I can put on, but I'm kind of wishing that I would have thought of this last time I was working on the APU. But I didn't think of it. After I spent 2 or 3 hours working on it the last time, I just sit here thinking, like, what in the hell could it be? I mean, there's only so many components involved in generating electricity from the generator. I've tightened the belt. The generator is spinning at the appropriate speed. So you have the generator, the capacitor, a couple of fuses, and then the control unit, and then the wiring, of course. So I've replaced the capacitor. I am getting power through the generator. It's just working intermittently, and it keeps tripping breakers. And it's acting like a loose wire or a bad wire because it's working intermittently, and it keeps tripping breakers. Like, if I plug the microwave up to the APU outlet that runs off the generator, then the microwave will power on and then it'll power off. And sometimes it'll stay powered on for 30 or 40 seconds, but it won't stay powered on for very long. It just keeps powering on and off. And if I ever try to use the microwave whenever it is, powered on, it'll immediately power off. So I'm getting intermittent, electricity through the generator. So it has to be bad wiring or a bad control unit, one of those two. And I don't want to have to replace the control unit. I've already had to replace the control unit once, which honestly, I don't think the control unit had to be replaced the time that it was replaced. I think it was a wiring issue with the capacitor back then, and I spent an extra like $500 for the control unit and then an extra $150, $200 to get it put in. So it's like an extra $650, $700 that I didn't need to spend, because that's how mechanics fix things, is they just start throwing fucking parts at it. And if they replace something that doesn't need to be replaced, they'll never admit that. They'll say, well, yeah, it needed to be replaced anyway. But yeah, when they replaced the control unit last time, it did not fix the problem. They had to go in and mess with the wires and replace a fuse that was out. So, I mean, I really don't want to deal with the mechanics again on this, because the mechanics are so bad. Even whenever you find a good mechanic, I mean, most mechanics are just really bad. Even the good ones. I don't like dealing with them. But right now I'm trying to decide. Let me actually take a look outside the door and see what the conditions are on the ground. Alright, so where I'm parked at, the snow is completely melted and it's just soaking wet. And I basically have to lay on my back to get to the wires. Yeah, this is not looking good. I think I might actually put this off for a few days until I can find a better place to work on it, because with the generator being out on the APU, that means that the heat and the air on the APU do not work. It'll still charge the batteries, and I can use the bunk heater to heat up the truck. And right now it's cold enough that I don't really need to run the air conditioner. So the APU situation isn't like really bad right now. So I think I might put off fixing it until I find a good place to work on it where I'm not going to be laying in, water and oil and just getting all my gear filthy. I'm not too worried about myself getting filthy because I can go take a shower immediately after. It's getting all of my gear filthy. Like, I'm fine with putting my rain gear on and laying in frozen snow, but putting my rain gear on and laying in a puddle of oily water, it's just, I won't be able to get that out of my rain gear, and I don't want to track it in the truck. So that's pretty much an update of what's going on with me. So I got here to Williston Saturday afternoon around, I don't know what exact time I got here, probably around 2 o'clock in the afternoon Saturday is when I got to this TA, which is like almost 30 miles south of Williston. And I sat here. So the broker I'm dealing with on the load that I just had, she's just lazy. Some of these brokers and agents you work with are just a pain in the ass to work with. They're just lazy, worthless people. And the broker I had on this load, every time I talked with her, she was just busy. And she didn't want to deal with me. She didn't want to do her fucking job. She was arrogant. She was condescending. She had an attitude, like, like I was bothering her or something. But I tried to get, the exact delivery window that I had. I tried to get the hours of operation for the business I was delivering to, their holiday schedule, stuff like that, to figure out what time, what days that I could deliver. I asked her for that information probably 4 times. I never got that information from her. I ended up calling Halliburton directly and talked with someone in the warehouse, and the girl I talked to in the warehouse didn't seem to know what in the fuck was going on. And I asked her what their holiday schedule was, and she didn't even know what fucking day it was. She didn't know what day Christmas was on. She didn't know what the date was. She didn't know anything. And we went around in circles, and she finally told me, yeah, we're open the day after Christmas, Monday, the day after Christmas. I had to explain to her what day Christmas was on. Monday. I was asking if they were, basically I was asking if they were open on Monday. Could I deliver on Monday, or were they closed on Monday and I had to wait till Tuesday? And she told me, yeah, we're open on Monday. But she didn't seem to know what she was talking about. I didn't really trust what she said. So I woke up Monday, about 8, 9 a.m. And before I got the truck ready and drove down there, I called to make sure that they were actually open on Monday, and nobody answered the phone. So I'm pretty sure they were closed on Monday, so I didn't bother driving the 30 miles there. So I waited until Tuesday, and I drove up there and delivered early Tuesday morning at like 8:30, 9 a.m. And after I delivered, I sat there and debated on what to do, where to go. And I was like, you know what? I haven't gotten a single load alert since I booked this load. Freight absolutely died off going into the Christmas holiday. And coming out of the Christmas holiday, it was really dead. I've only gotten like 2 load alerts in the last week and a half, and they were both bullshit loads. So I thought, you know what? I'm probably going to end up setting for a week waiting on a load. So let's just go to the TA where I have shower credits and where I'm going to end up fueling up if I need fuel, because I'm probably going to end up driving there anyway. So let's just go there now. So that's what I did, is I drove down here, actually to a Patriot that's about a mile down the road, because I heard they had good food. And I went in there and I got some of their food, and it was really shitty food. And I stayed there for I stayed there last night, Tuesday night, and then today I drove back down here to the TA because I want to take a shower. So. And then I decided to make this video real quick, just give an update what's going on with me. That Arctic blast, oh my goodness, that thing was crazy. I was dealing with like -15 to -25 air temperatures, wind chills of -30 to, I don't know how cold they got, -50, -60. If you have never been in temperatures that cold, it's hard to describe to somebody how cold that is, because I love cold weather. And like I said earlier, I'm the type of person that, if there's no wind and it's like 35, 40 degrees outside, I'll walk from my truck to the building back and forth. I'll fuel the truck up. Shorts and a t-shirt. I love cold weather. But those temperatures are brutal. Whenever I was fueling up the truck or doing anything outside in those temperatures, you have to cover up all your skin. Like, I have a balaclava, which is like a full face mask. And, just to get outside and fuel up the truck, or to get outside and do anything, I wouldn't do it without wearing a balaclava. I had, I was fully geared up, fully, covered up, and gloves and everything, because even, without gloves, Your hands, your face, your ears, any exposed skin will just go numb in a matter of seconds. It is truly life-threatening if you don't have some form of heat in those temperatures. You know, there's a lot of people that had vehicle breakdowns in those temperatures, and vehicle breakdowns in temperatures that cold are common because, you know, cold is really, 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 really hard on vehicles. It's hard on anything. Really cold temperatures will cause metal to become brittle. It'll freeze liquids. You know, your coolant system will freeze, your fuel system will freeze. Anything that has liquid will start freezing. Your brakes on the trucks, the airlines, there's tiny amounts of air in the airlines, and that stuff will start collecting and freezing in your airlines. So your brakes will start freezing up on these trucks. Like, everything starts breaking down in extremely cold weather. So I saw a lot of vehicles broken down on the side of the road. There were a lot of big trucks that looked like they were abandoned on the side of the road. Because once your engine gets frozen up, once your fuel lines and everything get frozen up, it's really hard to get one of these trucks running again. So, yeah, I think that the Arctic blast is still making its way through, like, the deep northeast right now. It's nowhere near as cold over there as it was over here. You know, it's not negative 30 air temperatures over in New York State right now. I think it's only like 10 degrees outside in New York State, which isn't that bad. Those aren't like brutally cold temperatures. That's pretty cold, but, you know, they're still... I heard that the National Guard's going door to door, you know, looking for people, and they found like 20 people dead so far, 20 to 40 people dead so far, just because of the weather, just the temperatures being cold. And it's only like 10 degrees outside. Like, it's not like negative 30 cold. So, yeah, it was a pretty nasty drive up here. But I'm looking forward to getting back down south. I'm really pissed off at how little money I made on the drive up here. And I'm really hoping I don't, you know, lose my ass getting back down south. I hope that I don't have to deadhead all the way over to Minneapolis to get a good load. There's a ton of freight that comes out of this area and goes down to Texas, but there's hardly any loads being posted on the board right now. So I'm hoping that things pick up here in the next couple of days, because right now everything is just incredibly slow. There are lots of loads. Like, one of the big things that comes up from Texas up here to Williston and Minot is totes. There are tons and tons of totes of some type of chemicals, and it's more than one type of chemical, because the totes that I hauled up here were non-hazmat. They were not regulated, and a lot of the loads coming up here are hazmat. So it's not all the exact same stuff, but there are tons of totes that come up here from Texas. And then there are lots of loads going from here back to Texas, returning the totes once they're empty. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to find a load here pretty soon to get the hell out of here. And if all the loads going back down to Texas pay crap, which... You know, before I came up here, I looked, and there were a bunch of loads that were paying $3.50 a mile or more coming out of this area, and most of them were going to Texas. And that's one of the reasons I took this load, was because I thought that I could get a load paying at least $3.50 a mile coming up here, and another load paying at least $3.50 a mile going back. But I've got my load alert set up to show me loads over $3.50 a mile that get posted. And like I said, I've only gotten like 2 load alerts since I booked the load. So it's been a week and a half, and I've gotten two alerts. 2 loads have been posted over $3.50 a mile in a week and a half in this area. So it's a 250 mile radius that I have it set at, which should include Minot and Bismarck, Dickinson, all the major cities in this area, all the major areas. If I expanded it out, I could get it to go out all the way to Fargo, but that's like almost a 500 mile drive all from here all the way to Fargo. It's like maybe not 500, maybe closer to 400, a little over 400 miles. I hope I don't have to deadhead that far for a load. But yeah, I'm fully expecting that I'm going to be parked here for maybe a week. It's probably going to be Monday or Tuesday next week before I finally find a load, because things after a holiday just take a while to get moving again. Going into the holiday, freight slowed down a lot. Coming out of the holiday, freight is really slow, and it takes a while to pick back up. Plus, now we are in the slow season. It's the first, in a couple of days. Basically, after Christmas, we hit the slow season. But the first quarter doesn't technically start until January 1st. But, like right now, we have so many holidays going on with Christmas and then New Year's. This is a really slow time for businesses because of the amount of employees taking time off. Whenever I worked at a normal company before trucking, I remember this time of year. And this time of year, we normally worked from home for the entire month of December. We normally didn't come back into work until around January. It was like the second week of January that we would come back into work. Like somewhere around halfway through December, we would start working from home, and we wouldn't come back into the office until like a week after January 1st, like January 7th, somewhere in that area. And that's just because so many people were taking time off during this time of year, and we had so many vacation days were being used, and then we had holidays off, and we were just working on really minimal staffing, and work volumes dropped. They just plummeted. So it's just, this time of year just gets really slow because of all of the people taking vacation and all the days off with holidays and everything else. So I might be hanging out here for a while. I would love to get a load right now and have something to do for the rest of the week, driving down to Texas. That would be awesome. And I don't think I'm going to be taking any more loads back up this far north in the winter. It's turned into an absolute nightmare, and it was mainly just because of that Arctic blast that came through. And if I wouldn't have had to deal with that, it would not have been a huge problem. So I don't know. Right now, I'm really, really curious as to whether or not my APU fix is going to resolve the issue, and I'm starting to dwell on that, and I'm really curious as to whether or not it's going to fix it. And I'm really wanting to get under there and do it. I'm thinking I might try to find another spot to park. Because I think I could probably find another place to park where it wouldn't be soaking wet. I don't know. Anyway, I should probably end this video because now I can't stop thinking about the APU. Even though it's not really a huge deal that it's not working right now, it'll become a big problem whenever I need an air conditioner. That's when it's going to become a huge problem. So I'm thinking. Because I want to go take a shower, and I'm thinking if I can find a place to work on it, I can go ahead and work on it now, and then I can go take a shower. Anyway, I'm going to sit here and thinking about this, but I hope you had a great holiday. If you're at home or you're out here running, whatever it is you're doing, I hope you had a great holiday. Hope everything's working out well for you, and I hope you're not dealing with as much drama as I'm dealing with. So, have a good one. Bye.